Hey, you beautiful beings. Welcome to Empowered Human with Nina Garcia. I am your host, and you are listening to the throwback episodes. Yeah, I have officially taken a pause on creating new episodes for the podcast so that I can focus on writing the book. It became very clear that while I have loved doing the podcast, I'm getting these episodes out every week to you all piecemeal. I was like, no more, no more. You all were like, please, please, can you get us all those skills and tools, Nina, in one area so that we can do the empowered human journey, so that we can really see what it's like from start to finish? To which I say, yes, absolutely. Let me get this to you. Yes. So what you're going to be hearing is this. You're going to be hearing throwback episodes from all 6 seasons, okay? It's not going to be every episode, so don't freak out on me yet. But it is going to be some of the episodes that were highlighted, that were popular, that we think, maybe you all missed and we want to bring it back. You're going to be hearing throwback episodes, and I am going to be listening along with you. I too want to hear about the journey and experience the journey that I had as we moved from Triggered Can We Play With That, the original podcast, all the way to Empowered Human with Nina Garcia. So you're going to hear personal stories. You're going to hear interviews. You're going to be given skills in every episode. Yes, you're going to be given tools in every episode for you to become skilled in. It is totally up to you whether you want to listen. If it's not the episode for you, skip to the next week, right? You just take what works for you, leave what doesn't. And if there's some stuff you're curious about, why don't you just go ahead and put that on the shelf? The podcast has always been about putting resources in the hands of people without needing to pay for it, right? And so this is no different. Even with these throwback episodes, what you're going to hear is this. We're going through, just as I said, you're going to still hear me talk at the beginning of each episode, letting you know, hey, we've had a transition. You're going to hear the original intro to the episode. You're going to hear the show music, and then you're going to hear the full original episode. This could mean that dates are off, that times are off, that people are talked about, that may no longer be in our lives, right? Just be aware of that. At the very end of the episode, you're going to see this face again come back to remind you that it was a throwback episode and to maybe offer you some adventure challenges as you move from week to week, right? Though the format of the episode did change over the years that we've done this podcast, the value is still there. So if you like something, definitely hit me up on Instagram at Drama Therapist Nina and be like, Nina, I love that throwback episode about XYZ thing. Yes, fill in the blank with that. Let me know. And if there's something that you're looking for in the meantime, also hit me up on Instagram at Drama Therapist Nina and let me know. Otherwise, stay curious and enjoy the ride, folks. I'll be right along there with you. Welcome to Empowered Human, the dramatically playful podcast that invites you to heal humanity, the one within you, me, and the world at large. I'm your host, drama therapist, empowerment specialist, and not to mention empowered human, Nina Garcia. And I'm so stoked you're joining me on the journey. Every Wednesday, you are invited to explore transforming from powered to empowered with genuinely human stories of courageous existence, healing from invalidation, and truly belonging to you. So wherever you are on the spectrum, from empowerment curious to empowered human ambassador, this podcast is designed to humanize. Get ready to lean into your edge, heal your worldview, and finally belong to you. This is Empowered Human. Hey you, Nina here. I want to start with a few more tools to help give future interviewers, new listeners, old listeners, and myself an opportunity to remember the foundation that we're building on. Because this show, this podcast, deals with how to empower people to learn about their triggers, learn about themselves and their relationship to the world around them, right? Which is why we get triggered in the first place. I want to make sure that we're starting with a strong foundation of, first off, what is a trigger, right? It's when we have an emotional response that is bigger or older than the moment, that precise present moment in question. That's what a trigger is. So it's very different than, say, a threat response if you are in danger in that present moment and then you have an emotional response, right? Or something in that very present moment triggers something and then you can deal with it right then and there. A trigger is, again, bigger and older than the moment. So knowing that we are starting on that foundation of how do I now play with that, make it safe for myself, make it safe for other people, that is how we are moving forward with every conversation session in season 2. And we're going to be sprinkling in some tools throughout that, my friends, starting with today. And this episode invites you, my friend, to play with self actualization. You intentionally making choices and living a life that creates the person that you intend to be. That is self-actualization. So I am curious. Are you ready to play? Let's take a breath. So here's why we're talking about this, or what the issue may be around this. For those of us who get triggered, and at some point that is every human being in the history of the world, I am fairly certain, 99.99999%, right? And so on. But when we get triggered, occasionally we fall into one of two groups of people. The first group may say something akin to, I don't have a problem. It's everyone else. Everyone else has a problem. It's because everyone else has a problem that I get triggered. It is not my fault. Maybe you fall into that category. Maybe you know some people who fall into that category. Right, so it's category A. It's not my fault. It's everyone else who has the problem. Category B, on the other hand, is a little bit of the flip. Right? It's like, I have all of these emotional outbursts. I am yelling. I have a hair trigger, and I just go off on everyone and everything. I have a problem. I have no idea why. It's category B. Right? It puts everything on you, but I know that it's no one else. I know that it's not anybody else, and nothing on anyone else. And because we want to be in the margin, in that space of openness in the in-between on this podcast, what I want to invite is that we consider, how do we understand what parts of us are being triggered because of something that's in our environment, at the same time that we say, okay, it's not 100% my fault. It is something in the environment. And also, it's not my fault in that I am feeling this way. My feelings are valid. And I really am angry, and I really am sad, and I really am fill in the blank for whatever ends up getting triggered in you. And so the question that will often come to me in my office and when people catch me casually is, Nina, how on earth do I understand whether I have the problem, what the real problem is, and how do I know when I've fixed it? How do I know when, that's not an issue anymore? Well, friends, we're here to talk about that. So let's move over to our solution of the episode, and that it's going to be an empowerment pyramid. An empowerment pyramid that I fondly refer to as the self-actualization pyramid. So some of you may be familiar with Maslow's hierarchy, right? And it's like, what's the self-actualized person? And there's all these layers and levels to get up to it. But when I am with a client, whether they're in therapy or coaching with me, and I'm thinking of their life and how can I empower them, I am looking at it through a variety of lenses, one of which offers a framework, and it is the self-actualization pyramid. Just like any pyramid, if you think of, say, the food pyramid, right? There is a definite triangle shape to it. It has a larger foundation at the bottom, and that foundation shifts to smaller sections as you get up to the pinnacle. And in an ideal world, you've got a little bit in every section so that you have a complete and whole pyramid. So when you come to me, or someone comes to you, or you are asking yourself, what is the issue here? What is the real problem? Is it my problem? How do I fix this? The way that I want to invite you to perceive of it is on this pyramid, in which there are 4 sections, the bottommost foundation of which is self-awareness. It's the first thing that you need in order to know, Do I have a problem? What is the problem, right? You've got to be curious enough to be aware of it. You've got to be willing enough to be aware of it. Self-awareness is the foundation of the pyramid. Then we move up a notch, right? Second level, self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is, now I have an awareness of fill in the blank, and here's what I know about how it shows up in me. Here's what I know about how it shows up for other people in the world. Here's what I know, fill in the blank. After we've attained on any given thing, self-awareness and self-knowledge, then we can start to self-realize. This is intentionally saying, now that I know that this is what it is, here's what I'm going to do about it. It is an action-oriented phase of the pyramid. It is very intentional in your aligning what you believe and your values with your behaviors and your words and your actions in the world. That is the self-realization. It's the third tier. Before we can get to the pinnacle of the pyramid, tier 4, self-actualization. This is a maintenance phase. It says, you have done the work, my friend. You've done the personal work, the intrapersonal work, the interpersonal work, and the social work that is necessary for you to say, I live a life that is by my values. I have worked at it enough that I am now in a state of maintenance. There are healthy behavioral patterns, action patterns that are here that I may not have to think about as much because they have been solidified and internalized within me. They're a part of my foundation, and they're how I move through the world. Here is a problem that we often get into. Because we are human, there is this lovely diversity to how we can show up in the world. And because of that lovely diversity, it means that we are full of a variety of roles that make us and help us define who we are and how we understand the world. So while it is lovely to know that there is a history to our story behind our story as well, right? Specifically, if our story is our lifetime here, right? From when we're born to this moment that you're listening to my voice. And there is a history beyond you, right? Your parents were doing things while you were in the womb, before you were even, what do they say? A glint in your parents' eye, something like that. Your parents had a history. They were doing things that would later affect you. Their parents were doing things. Society was doing things, right? Everything affects everything. And I don't want us to go too big and out and far with that. I want us to bring it back in, bring it back in, bring it back in. Because what that means is you, as a human being, are and have a story. And within your story, there are many, millions, billions of stories. You're your own universe with several constellations and galaxies. So while that can be lovely, because it means you get to share those stories, and we have some incredible stories that have been passed down through the generations, it also means that we can get into trouble when we pass down stories that we don't question. We can get into trouble when we pass down stories that we are not willing to develop a new way of looking at them. When we start to believe that a story in 2021 that's been told for maybe decades, maybe 150 years, maybe hundreds or even 1,000 years, that a story like that, when it was first created, is the same as it might be in 2021. There can be a danger in that because it doesn't acknowledge the context of the time in which that story was created, and it can be taken out of context in the time in which we live. So I will ask you, what kind of trouble can we get ourselves into when we don't question the stories that run our lives?
There is some incredible reading on this. A lot of how do we live in the margins? How do we live in the in-between and not fall into the binary thinking, that polarized thinking, that this or that, but that there are no other options, right? There's so much beautiful reading on this, and I will put some of it into the notes of this show, and certainly the Self-Actualization Pyramid will be on the website. We're nearing the end of this episode, and I'm wondering, what's your takeaway? These episodes are short and sweet. They're designed that way just to give you a little seed for you to go say, let me go percolate with this. Let me see if I want to plant this in something or if I just want to look at it on the windowsill or in my hand. It's an idea for you to take away and really sit with. Personally, I'm sitting with, the struggle that it can be to live on either side of the pole, right, of the polarity of the binary. And personally, most often, what a struggle it can be to try to stay in the in-between. Oftentimes, I think it is easier for us to choose a polarity, but this podcast and our future conversation sessions are going to ask you to be aware of it, to have knowledge of it, and to choose to be in the middle, in the margin, in a space of openness so that we can explore what it is to be human together. That is what I'm sitting with. How hard it can be to be in the middle. What are you presently working on in your own self-actualization pyramid? Where in your life are you on that first tier self-awareness? I'm still trying to figure out what this or that is. Where do you have self-awareness and self-knowledge? And are you like, I am in a state of actively trying to realize that this is who I want and intend to be as an individual on this planet that we call Earth? And again, back to the question, what are you presently working on? What are you choosing to work on in your own self-actualization pyramid?
It's me again, reminding you that this was a throwback episode. I hope that you were able to take something from it, even one little nugget of wisdom, and use that between this week and next week, right? The purpose of these episodes is to give you tools. It is up to you to decide whether you want to become skilled in them. You picking up what I'm putting down? So take a tool, take something, a perspective, a moment, something that works for you, and use it in your life to transform hard conversations into teachable moments, to transform the way that you play with scary moments, right? To transform your life, to help make you the most courageous, most healing-oriented, most belonging person, right? No matter where you go, that you belong to yourself everywhere you go, right? Courage, healing, belonging, whatever it is that you are taking from this episode, take it with you so that you can get out there and live your most vibrant life, you beautiful human being, okay? All right, I'm signing off for now, but I'm gonna see you soon, okay? I'm gonna see you real soon. Bye for now. Thank you so much for being willing to explore healing your humanity on Empowered Human. I hope you found at least one new way to transform your worldview from powered to empowered. If you took something from the show, please take a moment of your time and subscribe to Empowered Human. And if it really nourished you, leave us a review. Your feedback helps me understand what our community needs. Not to mention, it helps others discover the empowered human life. So keep this last bit in mind. All the visual goodies come with me on Instagram at Drama Therapist Nina. Stay up to date there on upcoming episodes, behind the scenes goodness, and reels dropping knowledge. Thank you again for being part of the empowered human community. Until next time, stay curious.